Have you ever wondered, what if, while a doctor is fighting to save a patient's life, their own loved one slips away? Life is full of paradoxes like that, where life and death brush past each other in a single moment. Stay with me for a few minutes and listen to what I experienced not long ago, a story about a doctor. A few days ago, I met my cousin Josh. He's a doctor at a large hospital. I realized I could ask him many things, not complicated terms or diagnoses, but the stories he has lived through at work. We ended up having several long conversations. I listened closely, asked just enough to keep him going, and learned a lot. Now, I want to share those stories with you. Let's begin. The first story wasn't from when Josh was already a doctor. Back in his third year of medical school, he was assisting in surgery at the hospital, where he would later work. Not long after the operation began, the attending surgeon received news that his mother had died. He stayed calm and, together with the team, completed the surgery. 3 full hours. When the final stitch was tied, the attending changed out of his scrubs. Josh heard him sobbing on the stairwell, and then watched him disappear down the corridor. 2 days later, that 40-something doctor returned to work, cheerful with everyone, and went right back to what he did best, saving lives. The second story happened in Josh's 5th year. He was on call at the hospital, alone. A resident named Olivia was preparing a tracheostomy for a patient with tetanus when another nearby patient suddenly deteriorated. Doctors and nurses rushed in to resuscitate. Josh got yelled at by Olivia for losing focus. He'd glanced over at the crowded bed. They both finished what they had to do. The crashing patient was defibrillated, then shocked again, but this wasn't TV. The team couldn't bring him back. The next morning, while changing clothes, Josh overheard the nurses chatting and learned the patient who died was Olivia's grandfather. The third story took place in Josh's first year as a full doctor. He stepped out of the operating room and saw a nurse colleague crying on the stairwell. Moments later, she washed her face and went straight back to work, smiling, upbeat, guiding patients through what they needed to do. Josh later found out her grandfather had just passed away. She booked a flight to Texas, hurriedly finished her tasks, then left. The fourth story was in 2023. Josh's father, my uncle, was terminally ill and would not recover. Josh arranged to bring him home. He wheeled him through the garden he had tended for years and let him pet Moss, the dog who'd been with him for over a decade. 2 days later, Josh did the hardest thing he's ever done. He withdrew his father's ventilator and held his hand for a long time. At the funeral, I didn't see Josh shed a single tear. Maybe he had already cried them all in that moment. He told me about his decision with a calm face. I knew there was nothing to say. I poured him a cup of hot coffee from my thermos and thought, I should prepare myself for what is inevitable someday. Life carries so much sorrow and pain. Losing loved ones is a misery none of us wants, yet sooner or later we all face it. After all that, we still have to choose how to meet our grief. Cry or smile, sink or keep living with hope. Those choices are ours. For doctors who put others' lives first, that choice matters even more. At some point, when sorrow can strike at any time, we learn to smile at life's harsh turns, to lift our own spirits even if, seconds earlier, we were drowning in sadness. Now, my own story. I visited Josh's hospital this past May. There I met a boy named Finn, one of Josh's patients. Josh told me Finn had a serious respiratory condition and the outlook wasn't good. Finn was 14 and had been hospitalized for nearly 2 months. I heard he developed a fever while studying at home, severe asthma. After a month of treatment, he was transferred to the ICU. There were multiple failed attempts to remove his endotracheal tube and wean him off the ventilator. Neurology was consulted, and they found he had myasthenia gravis. His illness moved like a high-speed train. By then, his respiratory muscles could barely work. Breathing had to be done by machines. Finn loved reading. That surprised me. Most kids his age prefer smartphones. As a true bookworm myself, I adored him for it. But his hands had grown weak, so holding a book was hard. What I could do for him was simple: hold the book while he read. At one point, Josh told Finn's family he could receive care at home or be transferred elsewhere due to infection risks. They chose home, the place Finn knew best, not a hospital bed. I asked Josh, "Will Finn live with that ventilator for the rest of his life?" Josh answered with a nod. Before Finn went home, I decided to give him a book set, Grimm's Fairy Tales, a cornerstone of my childhood. I shared a little about books with him. I love fairy tales. They shaped who I am. In those stories you can imagine, the life you long for. Dreams nothing can extinguish. And the most precious thing they taught me is that miracles aren't far away, as long as we keep believing. That was the last time I saw Finn. I hope the best things in life will always find him. Maybe one day I'll see him in a park, reading those tales to younger kids. Thank you, Josh, for sharing stories I wouldn't have understood without asking. If you ever watch this video, I hope you keep finding joy in your calling to save lives. And to you, someone with a romantic soul, a kind heart, and deep care for others, Rain-Zos hopes you live with joy, with health and peace all your life. May you have things you want to do them fully, and never be forced into what you don't love. May you be happy, and may your loved ones stay with you as long as possible, without sudden goodbyes. May you always have the courage to keep moving forward. Believe in yourself. You've done so well. Please keep going. May you be loved your whole life, and keep loving yourself too. Rain-Zos will be here, telling stories about life and listening to yours. Let's say goodbye for now.